Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have all of you here tonight. This is Monday, December 5th. To start our meeting, we'll identify the City Council that is here representing our city.
Council members Brown.
Here.
Entenmann.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jamison.
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Aguilar. Here. Anderson.
Here.
All 8 city councilors are here. We can conduct the city's business. As with every meeting, we will... Very good. Pastor, come on up. Welcome.
Sweet.
With every meeting, we start with an invocation, and we're certainly pleased to have Pastor Timothy Fountain here from the Church of the Good Shepherd. And what we'd ask you to do is to please stand. Pastor Timothy will give us the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Timothy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Gracious God, we thank you for the warmth we share in this building tonight. We pray for all those who may need more. We thank you for all those who work and labor by night and day to provide our city services. We thank you for the work of our mayor and council to see to the good of our community. And we ask you in this season where we wait for light to come through the darkness and we wait for dormancy to turn back into the life of spring, that you'll fill us with vision and hope, hope for good that we may do one for another. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about the
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate it. Tonight we have the opportunity to recognize some individuals who actually work for the city of Sioux Falls. We have a variety of awards that we're going to present tonight. The first one that we'll start off with is called the V.L. Kuzon Award, established in the memory of former Mayor V.L. Kuzon, and it recognizes and honors annually a non-management employee who demonstrates exceptional performance, judgment, productivity, loyalty, professional pride, and other noteworthy accomplishments in relation to city employment. We had 4 nominees this year, and we've got 1,100 employees that work within your city government. And so we had 4 employees that are non-management that were nominated for this award. And I'd like to name those 4. Steve Brunette, who is a part of our fire rescue team. Jansen Exner, who is part of our health team. Terry Van Dyke, who works in public works and engineering. And Joel Van Eckern, who is also part of our fire and rescue team. The winner of the award, and this award was announced earlier today, but the winner, and she is here, her name is Jansen Exner. And Jansen, would you come forward, please? Jansen is a registered nurse in our health department here in Sioux Falls. And highlights of the nomination, and the nomination was very, very thorough, very detailed, and it was just wonderful. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will touch on just a couple of things. Jansen has worked closely with the newly arriving refugee patients in the past and is now heavily involved with the homeless outreach for Falls Community Health. She embraces the fact that so many have so little and that she can make a true difference, and she tirelessly advocates for individuals who can't advocate for themselves. Jansen truly advocates for quality patient care and ensures that she has gone the extra mile to make sure that concerns are addressed by the most appropriate member of the healthcare team in a timely manner. Again, folks, 1,100 city employees, and this is one of our finest. Jansen, congrats. The next award is the Jeannie Foley Camp Management Excellence Award, established in the memory of former Human Resources Manager Jeannie Foley Camp. And it recognizes and honors annually a high performer and leader in the mid-management employee group whose performance drives change, builds commitment, maximizes talent, and focuses on the excellence in customer service. There were also 4 nominees for this award as well. And we have 1,100 employees, and these are the coaches, the leaders, the drivers, the managers of that success. We had 4 managers who were nominated for this award. They were Dwayne Hatch of our finance team, Rich Miller of our city's police team, Amy Richardson in health, and Lori Soul of public works and engineering. This year, the Fullenkamp Management Excellent Award winner is Rich Miller, who's a captain in our police department. Rich? Rich has been with the city of Sioux Falls and with the police team for 25 years. He started as a patrol officer and has progressed to his current position as patrol commander. He has been instrumental to the success of team policing, in which officers are assigned to specific areas of our city. He was also assigned to lead the patrol division in July 2010 to lead the largest group of the department in an organizational transition that was not easy, to say the least. Again, there are so many great things happening in our town. There are so many leaders, and this man, Mr. Rich Miller, is one of them. Congratulations. Our next award is the 2011 City Safety Award. And this award recognizes an employee or a team's initiative to establish, improve, inspire, and communicate best practices in safety and health, which will reduce or eliminate risk or injury in the workplace. There were 6 groups that were nominated for this award. Gavin Graverson of the Water Purification and Public Works team, Brad Johnson, who works on our crime lab and our police department, Rick Clemish, Rex McDonald, Jed Jones, Al Hansen, Tom Cooley, Josh Brinkman. They were all of the Forestry crew and Parks and Rec team. Bob Hendricks of our Street Fleet and Public Works team, Bob Capel and Matthew Gedney, who work in the Environmental Division and Public Works team, and Randy Wold and Mike Koopman and Russ Wrench of our Fire Rescue team. I'd like to congratulate certainly all of these folks who've been nominated for this award. But this year's award goes to 2 individuals. I know that many of you heard about this either on the news or through the newspaper, but this was a really, really serious thing that impacted some young people in our town. This award goes to 2 individuals for their work in developing a best practices operation plan for the Sioux Falls Ice and Rec Center. The team responded to a request from Parks and Rec to help assess carbon monoxide concerns at the Ice and Rec Center earlier this spring. These 2 employees went above and beyond their normal job duties and took the lead on this matter to assist the center. The team devoted more than 100 hours, which included voluntarily performing air monitoring at the Ice and Rec Center during evenings and weekends outside of their normal scheduled hours. I said outside of their normal scheduled hours. Their findings, their recommendations, and reports were instrumental in correcting failures and implementing best management practices that has and will continue to protect employees and the public. These young people that were skating, relying on us to make sure that they were safe at the Sioux Falls Ice and Rec Center. Please join me in congratulating Environmental Division employees Mr. Bob Capel and Matthew Gedney for their work. We'll now move on to tonight's consent agenda. Council, do you have any changes or motions for tonight's consent agenda?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. If there is no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Intiman.
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. We'll now move on to tonight's regular agenda. Council, any changes or motions?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, councilors. Appreciate it. We do have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any further discussion? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is passed 8-0. And to give them credit, that was Councilor Entenmann and Councilor Karski who made that motion. Thank you. We'll now move on to tonight's business. And that always starts with an opportunity for the public to engage the council. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak to the council, please just come forward. We'd ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and then just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Staley. And first of all, tonight I want to say thank you to Mayor Huther for facilitating the Neighborhood Summit last month. This was held on a Saturday, and it was very well attended. And I appreciated your concern, Mayor, and your warm regard for all the people who were there. And you showed a willingness to listen to everyone who was there, and you let all of the people speak. And I know everyone really appreciated that. And I also appreciated that Sue Aguilar was there and Michelle Erpenbach. You took time out of your morning to come and to show that you have support for the neighborhoods, all of the neighborhoods of our city. I'm here tonight because the urban agricultural issue has arisen in our city in the last few days. And I don't have farm animals, but I am passionate about flowers. And those of you who know me know this is true. I have been gardening in my home for the last 19 years, and I have developed much of my yard into flower beds, organic flower beds. I have planted species that require very little water, native species, and they attract butterflies and bees, and everything is very organic and very friendly to the environment. Because I love the land, I don't use any pesticides and or synthetic fertilizers. It's all organic, and it's all done with composting and horse manure. I would like to see our city move towards encouraging people to do more composting. In Minneapolis, my sister lives there, and they actually give people composters to encourage people to recycle their own yard wastes, so that we start to think about that in a different way instead of seeing it as garbage that needs to be discarded. I have taught gardening classes through community ed for the last 11 years, and I've had hundreds of people come through my gardens, and I can tell you that people are passionate about gardening. They're passionate about flowers, but they're also passionate about growing their own food. So we need to be doing everything we can to encourage people to have gardens and to use their yards in ways that will help to sustain them and help them with their grocery bills. My yard also has been selected several years to be on the Master Gardeners Tour, and Mayor, you came through my yard a year ago, had about 500 people come through, and it has been a wonderful thing to be able to share that beauty with others. I give a lot of bouquets away, I encourage people to grow, and so I'm very concerned that as we move forward with this ordinance idea, that we are not going to be stifling the creativity that we need to have in our city. Also, because we love flowers, a few years ago, a group of us did some fundraising. We planted 3 flower beds along Cliff Avenue at Nelson Park, and I have to say Don Kearney was so helpful in facilitating us in doing that. But again, I'd like to see us become a city of flowers. Yankton has some beautiful areas where they have just rows of flowers along the boulevard. We had the meeting last Friday. I was disappointed that the Argus Leader didn't have more about that, and I don't know who the blame goes to, if it's with the city promoting that. I know with the event center it was always out there. But people should have been more informed that this was happening at 2:30 last Friday. Kello and KSFY did cover it. Despite that, that room out there was filled with people, and it was filled with people who wanted to speak, and they were not allowed to speak. As we move forward with any kind of an ordinance, I think we need to be hearing from people first before you put any kind of ordinance together. I've watched enough ordinances come about, and it's very difficult to change it once the train has left the station. You've got to listen. Maybe we don't even need to do anything with an ordinance. Hear from the people. I've had a conversation with several of you in the last few days, and several of you asked me, you said, Teresa, I couldn't be there. Greg Jameson did come, thank you. But you said, I couldn't be there. What did they talk about? And was it videotaped? The answer is no. So I have two things I'd like in the spirit of accountability and openness. I would ask that the next meeting that is supposed to be on December 16th at 2:30, which is a very odd time for the public to get here, but at 2:30, I would say let's have the meeting right here. That's the first thing. And I talked to Carla Paulson today in the Media Services Department, and she said that that could be videotaped if the council would give approval for that. That way, everybody can see what's happening. Because right now, it's me saying Dean Karski said this, or Rex Relfing said this. There's really no record of what was actually said, whether it was a goat being cooked in the yard or whatever happened. And the second thing that I would like is that I would like at the next meeting, I'd like the public to be able to speak. Let them say what they need to say, and let's make sure it's very well publicized so that we really have good input and we're doing what's best for everybody. So before you draft any legislation dictating how we can use our own property, let's step back and listen. And let's proceed onward in everything we do in our city with love, wisdom, respect, and respect for the rights and dignity of all the people. And let's make sure that we're recognizing and embracing the creative and ethnic diversity in our city. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council? Welcome.
My name is John Michaels, and last time I came down here I was to give you a heck, but I'm actually here to congratulate you and say I think it's a great idea what you're doing with urban agriculture. Rex, I knew you back at the Barrel Drive-In when you used to bat cars with a broom. But sometimes I'm so old I don't have tattoos. I sometimes remember things and get in trouble for it. I remember my dad saying, you knock on the door and there's nobody here but us chickens. I remember getting chickens at Lewis Drugs on Easter as a sign of our culture, of the spring and that. But I'm not for or against anything on it, but I've never had so much national interest on my radio program asking to be part of it. So I did a program on urban agriculture last Sunday, and I've never had so many calls about that program. In fact, I never had calls saying, why don't you come down and talk to the city commission before? And I thought, well, okay. But the urban agriculture was something that was new to me. It's a term that's only been around for 10 years, but it's a green movement. Actually, I looked at Sunshine Foods and Hy-Vee, and we've become kind of a desert, food desert, as they call it. All of our foods come from at least 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 miles from here. And even our eggs, how many times has it been handled, trucked, and cased, and moved, and all that kind of thing. So it's really something that I think that the city has I want to congratulate you on. I hope you don't spend $30,000 on a consultant, because I know that some of the department heads get $100,000, and they should know what to do on that. But the public input is great. I think the meetings that you're having and looking at what's been going on nationally, most of the cities have passed laws that allow chickens. They regulate it. They make money on permits. You know, we can get a lot from our refugees as far as sustaining. You know, one hen has about 700 eggs. That's a lot of food and protein. You can get milk from goats. Minneapolis just passed their urban agriculture where they even allow honeybees, which I wouldn't want in the backyard, but I found out if you get water nearby, you can do that. And you regulate it as to what size, how far back from the backyard, or whichever. A lot of times people have looked at Sioux Falls as maybe heading in a direction of becoming a gated community, quote unquote. This would be an example, I think, of saying that looking at whatever happens, for or against, I hope it's for the majority of the community and not for a few. There's some people that say my land is my castle and I can do whatever I want on it. Well, that's not right. But it's not also right for them to say I'm not going to allow somebody else to do something in the neighborhood. So I just want to congratulate you on this. The Detroit has been in Fortune magazine, European magazines, and a documentary on Detroit has become a big YouTube item in the fact that urban agriculture is saving Detroit. In fact, millionaire John Hance has just thrown down $30 million for Detroit's urban farm agriculture. And Atlantic Records, their main charity is urban agriculture, mainly in part to a Minneapolis friend of ours by the name of Prince. And also Triscuit, Coca-Cola, Home Depot. These are all parts of large corporations that are getting involved. And I think if we take a good look at urban agriculture and the movement, we don't have to hire consultants. The web has 1,000 sources and studies already done on this. That, again, the public, I think education and communication is a key. And Rex, I'd like to have you on our program and do as much as we can to really get the public input on this so that it's for everybody and not just a law for the few. Once you get the law set, then you go by it. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Folks, who's next? Anybody? Well, very good. Thank you so much, Teresa and John. We appreciate it. We'll now move on to item number 13.
Transfer of a 2011-12 retail malt beverage license from Coco Palace LLC, Coco Palace, 2530 South Louise Avenue, to Li Zhu Zaying LLC, Coco Palace 2, to be operated at 2530 South Louise Avenue. 14, transfer of a 2011 retail wine license from Coco Palace LLC, Coco Palace, 2530 South Louise Avenue, to Li Zhu Zaying LLC, Coco Palace 2, to be operated at 2530 South Louise Avenue.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori Hogshead with the City Attorney's Office here for items 13 and 14. These are both just transfers, and it's actually the same applicant. He just changed corporations. I can certainly answer any questions you might have on those.
Council, would anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve, Brown.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve item 15 or item 13 and 14, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 15.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 611 South Dakota Avenue from the C2 General Commercial District to the RA2 Residential District, petition number 2011-1009, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Mike?
Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper with Planning and Building Services. We have a number of items tonight that have been recommended by the City Planning Commission from their last regular meeting. Item 15 is a petition to change the zoning of an existing residence, which is located along the west side of Dakota Avenue, south of 14th Street. It's part of the Helen Salem estate, and the heirs of the estate are desiring to resell the house. In order to get bank financing approved, there is a requirement that the property is zoned residential. And the Planning Commission has recommended approval of this rezoning from commercial to residential.
Mike, is that it?
That's it.
Great. Folks, this is a second reading, so if there's anybody who'd like to speak to the council about this item, you're certainly more than welcome to do so. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this? Very good. Council?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Edmonds made a motion to approve item 15, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any questions or comments? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 16.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2011-1005, and to Chapter 15.45.070, Plan Development Districts at the northeast corner of 60th Street North and North Granite Lane. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This one might take a little longer.
Okay.
This is a petition to allow an additional land use within a planned development zoning district. The petitioner is Brett Roman, and his desire is to construct a truck wash in an area north of 60th Street north and east of Granite Lane. Currently, this zoning district does not allow truck washes. And so what the city council is being asked to consider tonight is whether or not to add truck wash as an allowed land use within this planned development zoning district. And I'd like to go through a kind of a brief history because I think it's important for you to know how this area has developed over the years. This particular zoning district is called the Prairie Hills North PD, and it includes to the west of Granite Lane the Flying J truck stop. To the northeast is the Skyline Heights Rural Residential Subdivision, which is currently outside of the city limits. To the north of the proposed development area is called the Redstone Plan Development. And that was developed back in 1997. The zoning was approved for that. And currently there's a hotel that has been built within this plan development district. And then to the east of the proposed truck wash is a development known as the Flagstone Plan Development. That goes back to 2007 when we made some additional modifications to the allowed land uses within that area. And I'll talk a little bit more about what is currently allowed around this particular area. The history of the truck wash goes back to about 1994 when there was a consideration by both the city council and the Minnehaha County Commission to approve the development of a truck stop in this area that was at that time outside the city limits. In 1998, the location where the truck stop is currently located, as well as the remaining portion of the Prairie Hills North PD, was annexed into the city limits. And then in 1999, there was an update of the zoning uses that would be developed within that particular area. So the history of this goes back quite a ways. And then in 2009, the city council heard another request for a truck wash just to the south of this proposed site. That was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, but was denied for approval by the city council. So as we look at whether or not to allow this major amendment, we received a lot of testimony at the Planning Commission hearing. And again, I'm going to kind of walk through a lot of information with you as we look at the exhibits. The first thing is, obviously, can a truck wash be developed in this location and be compatible with both existing and future development? There's a number of considerations that we would look at, such things as traffic flow, impact of noise and lights, odors, trash, as well as buffers around the truck wash from adjacent development. And one of the things to keep in mind as you consider your item tonight, that you are being asked to approve a change to the land use. You are not asking to approve the actual development plan for the proposed truck wash. So if the major amendment would get approved tonight by the City Council, there would be another public hearing required before the City Planning Commission with what we call a final development plan, which would be a very detailed plan that would show exactly how the building would be developed on the property being considered tonight. But I know that probably tonight there will be questions about what the proposed truck stop might include or might look like. As we look at this proposed area, and again, I told Steve that I would be kind of going back and forth from the slides, but if we kind of show what the current land uses are, if we can go back to that slide, around this area. The one that shows there we go. The subject property is outlined in red on this slide, That's where the proposed major amendment is being requested. As I said, to the west or to the left of this subject property is the existing Flying J truck stop. And then all the existing land on the east side of Granite Lane to the north, east, and south is currently vacant until you get up to the hotel, which is in the Redstone Village, and to the Skyline Heights neighborhood. So as we look at how this might fit in with the surrounding development or surrounding zoning, directly to the north of the proposed truck wash will remain in an area that's zoned for office development. And that's designed specifically, again, as a buffer between any commercial development as well as the residential of the Skyline Heights. And then as you look to the right or to the east as part of the Flagstone development, the area directly to the south of Skyline Heights has been zoned for residential development. And back when the Flying J developed, there was a requirement to put in a landscape berm directly to the south of the Skyline Heights development as another buffer in anticipation of more both residential and non-residential development out in this area. And then directly to the east of the proposed truck stop, major amendment is zoned for future commercial uses. So there's a transition as you start from 60th Street and go back towards the Skyline Heights neighborhood. There's a transition from commercial to office and residential. And that transition would remain even with this major amendment as proposed tonight. So we heard obviously from the proponent, who I believe is here tonight, that believes that with their development plan that they can adequately address any concerns from the neighborhood in terms of traffic flow, the noise and lights, the odor, trash, and buffers. The proposed truck wash would be within an enclosed building and would have 2 bays for 2 semi-trucks to be utilized at one time. Access would be off Granite Lane, and then again there would be the buffer to the north of the office development, and until such time as that did develop, that would become a landscaped area. So the applicant is very cognizant of trying to work with the neighborhood of developing a buffer for this truck wash until there's other development out in that area. Also, it's important to know that within this existing area that the truck wash would be developed, the current zoning would allow an auto service facility, another truck stop, and a car wash. So you could put a car wash, you could put a service station, and you could even, although it's not really likely, you could put in a smaller truck stop in this particular area. So again, what you are being asked to consider tonight is adding a truck wash to the list of allowed land uses in this particular area. One of the exhibits that Steve has been putting up there is the city of Sioux Falls has been working with the South Dakota Department of Transportation as well as property owners along the 60th Street North Corridor. This includes the entire corridor, but this particular section adjacent to the land that's being considered tonight shows you that some of the things that we're looking at in the future is the possibility of developing a median along 60th Street North from Kiwanis Avenue going west toward Interstate 29. And then as part of that plan, we would develop a new access point off of 60th Street that would go north along the west side of Flying J and connect back to the Redstone Village area. Now that's still in the discussion stage, it's still being reviewed, but the point is that we're looking at trying to address not only existing traffic but also future traffic in anticipation of further development up in this area. And then on the right side of Granite Lane is shown the proposed street layout that was approved at the time that the Flagstone plan development was brought in. But But again, up to this point, there has been zero development within that planned development district. We did hear from the Skyline Heights neighbors that had concerns about adding this use, and I think they're here tonight to give you a little more information about specifically what their concerns are. The traffic, the noise, the lighting, and again, whether or not this is an appropriate area for a truck wash. After hearing all the testimony, both in favor and against, the Planning Commission has again recommended approval of this major amendment, similar to what they did back in 2009, primarily because it is adjacent to the existing truck wash. It is buffered by office to the north, as well as future commercial development to the east and to the south. And again, if the council approves the major amendment, there will be another public hearing required. If the major amendment is denied, then there would not be any opportunity for another public hearing before the City Planning Commission. So that's a very quick summary and overview of the findings and the recommendation by the City Planning Commission.
Thanks, Mike. Folks, we do know that there are some folks here from the neighborhood. Is Mr. John Lavender here? John, would you mind coming forward? Welcome.
Appreciate this opportunity to talk to you, Mr. Mayor and honorable council members. I sent a PowerPoint, pictures, maps, and so forth to all of the council members. Several of you recognized that I sent it there and thanked me. And I don't know if the rest of you, I hope you did, got my viewpoint. One of the things, the very first slide that I want to show or just talk about, because I think I'm an old geographer, and a map is worth 1,000 words, and having been a former city planner, the less words said, probably the better, because I sat through a lot of city council meetings and planning commission meetings and spent a lot of hours, let me tell you, I know. So anyway, what this particular layout is showing you is an aerial from Google Earth. And what I did is I took the development people's drawing and set that on here so you could see the relative location of where they're proposing the truck wash to our residential area. What I am concerned with, and I am showing you directly, the distance from the trucks basically is going to end up being half. And I was very liberal at 370 feet is actually from the house, not from his backyard, to where the trucks will exit the building in question. This concerns me because it is at the 24-hour operation. This is going to be, we're going to hear it at night. Berms or no berms, and vegetation or no vegetation. The next slide, I want to just make some comments here. How many trucks will the site plan allow to wait for the truck wash? What the backup is? And I've done something that I put on a very last moment. I took a look at the Blue Beacon car wash, and on your last sheet, you didn't get this because I just keep doing stuff as I go along in life. And I was looking at the layout of, it's only a one horse or one garage truck wash, but the backup area, the amount of feet that are provided for trucks lining up to get their wash is considerably different than what is being proposed in the current truck wash. And the only thing I can do at this point is to suggest that you ought to give this some real thought in terms of is really the spacing being proposed for a successful truck wash, is it really adequate? And I'm not an expert in laying out truck washes, and I'm sure there are people that do that. Another question that I have, back to the original drawing, they have said on a number of occasions, one was at J&L Harley, and the one was at the Planning Commission, that they were going to have 75 employees, which is fine. The more the merrier. But I noticed that there are very, very few parking places. And even if you had 3 shifts and 25 employees, I'm wondering where they're going to park. And that is only a question. I don't have the answer for it. Now, if you want to take a look, I made the picture of the Blue Beacon car wash, but now I want to go to my kind of general follow-up statements, because I've been trying to analyze this situation for more than one dimension. And so you'll see on my list of things here, first of all, I think we have an issue here of trust. It is everyone that I have run into to talk about the past agreements. When Flying J was established in 1994, or got permission, there was an agreement made amongst the parties that there would be no other truck uses out there, because the residents of Skyline Terrace, and I forgot to tell you guys, I am the president of the association out there, and you don't need that job. It was an agreement to not have any other uses, and now we've come full circle. And I think Sioux Falls is one of the great mid-American cities. I retired and moved here. I made a choice. I wanted to be here. And I have family that also made that choice with retiring and moving here. So it seems to me that in the relationships, and Skyline Heights is an entity of the county. And these agreements, I would like you to at least feel that there's a sense of honor here in respecting these agreements as they develop through time. The second thing that I wanted to comment, and the city of Sioux Falls is making a major attempt, I know you are, in its, you're going to revise your zoning and land use maps and your categories and information. And I've been looking and studying some of these future recommendations. And one of the things is that Sioux Falls is finally coming to understanding that some type of buffer yard, as you're using the term, buffer zones, as I've been familiar with it for many years ago, is necessary between light industrial and residential uses. Because, as you all know, the single-family residential areas, the closer they are to light industrial and industrial, it affects land value, building value, and the future for the stability of what is, I consider, a very fine neighborhood. So one of the things is that I hope that you take in consideration what you are doing for your own future and the decision you may make this evening in relationship to what the future planning for Sioux Falls will amount to. And the Shape Sioux Falls is the name of that area. And I think there's some very outstanding work being done there. We support economic development. We want you to develop. I am a pro-development guy myself. But we want it consistent with the single-family residential area. Jeff Starkart, who I believe is here tonight, Wendell Potratz, in 2007 put forth the Flagstone Plan development of 26 acres. They are proposing, trying to produce a development that will be consistent with the single-family area. I feel, and it is my concern, that additional truck uses will produce the same environment that you have on North Cliff Avenue, approximately at 60th Street North. It is a light industrial truck service area, and it belongs there. And I would like to see further development of that. And I think they have not developed it to their full potential. But when you do this, and you make this decision, you will weaken Skyline Heights, and it makes it more difficult. I don't think it's consistent. Now, the next sheet, I can be biblical in special hours. And so, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. What I'm really saying, if you want a truck wash as close to your house as you can see this one is to ours, and by the way, my house on that very first, go back to that very first slide, I'd like to tell you where I live. I love my home. It probably got, no, it's the third house up from the bottom corner, the one that's got those two sheds out and back, where I keep an unbelievable amount of junk. But I will tell you this, that it is, I'm very, very close to this. So if you folks can live with something like that close to you, then that's fine. But it won't be fine for me, but that's the way I view it. Now, I want to make one comment. I have seen Mr. Cooper present the 60th Street, it's called a long-range plan, the corridor study. I understand where he's coming from, but I really don't want him to do that, because the word imponderables means there are things in which money has not been spent yet. We don't know what the outcome. There's a median strip. There's supposed to be a special exit for the Flying J to get them to have a better access into the onto I-29. Right now, there are huge traffic problems. In the morning, I drive my two grandchildren to school, and I will tell you very frankly, the truck drivers, I know they're frustrated. I have a son that's a truck driver, and they're trying to get out of Granite Street onto 60th Street. And I'll tell you, it's a bluff game. And what they do is I'm not going to run into their big truck. But the deal is, it's not really safe. And there have been recorded quite a few accidents. At this particular point, I'm done. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your interest.
Mr. Lavender, a very good job. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council about this particular topic? Sir, please come forward. And Mr. Lavender, don't go too far away, sir. Don't go too far away. The council may want to engage you later on, too. Thank you.
Okay. That's right. Thank you.
Sir, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Brett Roman, 8313 Spice Hill Circle, also the owner of the Empire Car Wash and the one who is proposing this truck wash here today. We have gone through several different factors here and held a neighborhood meeting and did, I think, the things necessary to truly find out what the issues were, the concerns were with the neighborhood up there. I understand and have empathy for them, and as a business owner and a local person, I did everything I could out of that, gathered all that information out of that meeting to make sure that what we were proposing would at least help with the issues that they had brought up. I kind of the same thing that we initially had in your packet is kind of dark, so I tried to put some color to this thing. Excuse me, and just kind of give you some different views initially. You know, going back to what Mr. Cooper talked about in 2009 when this thing got denied, I think a couple of other issues came into play there. One, I think they wanted to do a truck wash / service center / washout. I'm here to tell you, if you look at our facilities, we have no plans on doing any agricultural washouts. We're not going to do any truck service type. All we want to do is wash the vehicles that are currently there across the street at the Flying J. As far as the traffic goes, I think we're going to have real low impact, meaning bringing more traffic flow to there. We're just servicing the vehicles that are there. And when we had this neighborhood meeting, you know, what I really gathered were three major concerns from the Skyline Heights folks out there, and one was noise, and the second picture, although not in depth or elevation piece, I kind of did an aerial view looking from the north, which would be kind of from their point of view, and as you looked at that parcel where the office is their buffer, what we wanted to do is take it one step further based on the concerns that we heard about a noise factor. If you've ever been out there, the elevation already escalates, and if you were there while the corn was there, the corn is actually, the top of the corn is level with the roof line of the first house that sits off in that southwest corner of the Skyline Heights addition. What we plan to do is move all the dirt that we would move from our space and up toward that north addition, create an even bigger buffer, and then put nice evergreen trees, which would actually take care of two issues that they had or concerns that they had addressed in this meeting, in the neighborhood meeting. One being the noise that is currently out there, and then two being the trash that currently goes across and out of the Flying J and into their neighborhood. We thought, being a good neighbor, we would, because initially I bought that, it's 5.8 acres of land. We were initially going to go for a major amendment to rezone that whole piece, but when we started to really look at it and see that we had plenty of space on the C4, or what's rated or currently at a C4, we decided to leave the office space, kind of our green space, I'll call it, where we're going to have natural grasses, the berm, and the trees, which will help absorb. If you've been down by the Empire Car Wash, we have more issues with the trash because of, you know, we're actually vacuuming the vehicles and stuff is flying out of the cars. I make our kids pick it up every day. It'd be no different here. The big difference is that trash will never come from ours because, one, we're not going to have vacuums like we do at a car wash. We're not going to have blowers, you know, that dry off the vehicles. We use a reverse osmosis system that's a spot-free rinse. So means no exterior noise coming as the trucks are exiting. You're not going to hear the dryers blowing the trucks dry. They'll just exit out, and basically the noise that you'll hear is the noise that is out there already in the semi trucks. I kind of want to go. We'll skip past the east side view. You know, again, the noise was one of the concerns. So this is kind of small, and I apologize, but I had the manufacturer data. Meaning the equipment that we plan on putting in to our truck wash, I had the manufacturer send the decibel readings of these. And if you look at it, and I think you have it in front of you as well, the equipment is at the 20-foot range, that meaning being you're inside the building with it. At 20 feet, it's 80 decibels, and at 78. And at the Planning Commission, one of the commissioners asked, what is 80 decibels? It's a dial tone. Literally, that's the noise that would come from our equipment as the what we're using to clean the systems. And if you go to the next slide piece here, that equipment is actually, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, that's the mechanical room. All that equipment will actually be housed in that, behind 4 concrete walls and a closed door. So even at 80 decibels will not be heard here. The trucks will enter in from the one side the other side of the doors will already be closed. As soon as it gets done washing, that door will raise, they will leave, the door will go back down, the next truck will come in. So really, from our perspective, there is no additional noise that will actually come from the wash itself. Like I said, the equipment's all housed indoors behind concrete walls, and the doors will always be closed during the wash process. The next one is to address the concerns of the trash. Again, if you look at it, like I say, it doesn't have the elevations to show you, but there's a significant rise in that elevation, and we plan to raise it even further, putting rows of trees in there, and like I said, natural grasses, because I think they get the most trash, obviously, and the most noise is during them summer months when you have that southerly wind that'll push it across. And all I want to do is show them that I want to be a good neighbor and try to do what I can to help with the current issues that they have out there. We are next to two major interstates, I-90 and I-29 right there, 60th Street, which turns into 38. We have the flight pattern that goes right over the top of us. I mean, there is a lot of noise there, but what they or addressed and their concerns with the current issue, I just wanted to try and help to show I'm here to be a good neighbor. If you look at it from this perspective of truck wash and why would I put it there, it's the number one, it's the largest truck stop in the state of South Dakota. And if you do any research, and I've done 2 years worth of research before I came in front of you folks, 2 years worth of research, the number one thing they'll tell you, the best place you can put a truck wash is next to two major interstates. Obviously the second being where trucks stop. One point to bring out from the plan development that Mike talked about, what's already approved here is a truck stop. I went even further and talked with Jeff Schmidt. If I was to build a truck stop that had a truck wash on the end of my truck stop building, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. I would not have had to hold a neighborhood meeting or a planning commission. I could literally build a truck stop today and have a truck wash in there, and all I would need is to go through that planning process and the building permits, but I wouldn't have to have this rezoned. I think that's a major factor in looking at this. I mean, worst case scenario is a guy could literally buy this piece of property and call it a quote-unquote smaller truck stop and build a truck wash there. I think me being local, already owning a business, I think most of you have been by our establishment on 41st and Grange. We're good to our neighbors. I've given them all my phone number, my email address. Is moving forward, if we're fortunate enough to get this thing approved, I said you have my number and can call me at any time. Want to point out a couple more things. I think the smell was the other concern. I apologize. The other manufacturer data that I provided here was actually just a system. It's a lot like if you've been in the Empire Car Wash. We have a reclaim system. We're going to reuse the water. There's big holding tanks that actually takes that sludge and pushes it down, and then we have basically an ozone system that will actually suppress any of the smells. That's why when you go into a car wash, you have the fragrant smell versus any stench that comes off the mud, the slime of the vehicles that come through. So we plan on reusing, doing the reclaim of the water and suppressing that smell. The next one I touched on already. The car wash is already there. I could run a 24-hour car wash, a truck stop that could have the truck wash already. The big thing we're going to do different, and if you've been by that blue beacon, we're going to use the latest and greatest in technologies as far as truck wash systems. So blue beacon usually takes about 25 minutes to wash a car. We're going to be somewhere, the manufacturer tells me I can do it with 6 to 8 minutes. I know that the trucks, a lot of those guys want their tractor hand wash, so it's going to take us a little more time, but we'll probably push these out between 10 and 12 minutes. And all the owners that I've talked to across Kansas City, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Fargo, you're going to average about 4 an hour. Your busy times where you're doing, most of your business is when most people are working during that middle of the day. Late at night, you're lucky to get 1 or 2 an hour regardless. But obviously they are a 24/7 operation, truckers are, and we need to be accommodating for that. But most of our business will be done, during that day time frame when they're coming in fueling up. As John had mentioned, we're planning between 65 and 75 jobs that will be created out of this. We're talking about 2, possibly 3 bay system. As far as the traffic flow goes, if you looked at the original piece, we have roughly, we can put 7 trucks per bay before it would even hit the street, and even then we could curl that and push those back. This is just a concept drawing, though. We could actually, if you look at Blue Beacon, which he brought up, that's on 1.5 acres of land. We bought 5.8 acres. Roughly 1.5 acres will go away to the office space or our green space. We have almost double or more than double what Blue Beacon has. If we needed to, we could wrap that thing around and bring it in on a horseshoe effect to make sure we never hit Granite Lane. We will do anything and everything we can to help them, and like I said, we're not going to create any more traffic. Our noise is going to be held to what is currently you hear when they're leaving the gas stop and heading back to the interstate. So with that, if you have any questions of me, thank you for your time.
Brett, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council on this topic?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Dave Husby. I am not a property owner in this area. I am not a partner in the development. I am not here as a paid consultant. I'm here to provide a little historical data. There are only 2 or 3 people in this room that were here when this project was done nearly 20 years ago. Mr. Metley is in the back of the room. Mr. Cooper was here. And I thought what I would do is share with you just a little bit. I was hired by Flying J after they made 3 different attempts with the City Commission at that time under Mayor Hansen to have this property rezoned, and they were denied 3 different times. At that time, I was a real estate developer and a commercial real estate broker. And so I spent quite a bit of time with them talking about things I thought that might make their project a little easier to go in Sioux Falls. At the time, I was working very closely with city government. We worked with the planning staff, both the city and the county commission, and the neighbors, as well as the developers, and we came up with a site plan. And earlier, I think Steve had one of the original site plans up here that ultimately we arrived at to protect what the Skyline Heights neighbors were concerned about, the Planning Council was concerned about, and the City Commission was adamantly opposed. They unanimously denied this 3 times. Utilizing a consensus that we put together, and I don't think that the neighbors were ever totally had their buy-in, and utilizing landscaping and berms and other things, we put together a plan that ultimately was approved by the City Council. Mayor Hansen, both commissions, and the neighbors worked to find an acceptable balance. Flying J at that time promised to be a good neighbor and develop the property with great care. Mr. Fifley, I don't know if you were asking Mr. Cooper whether a written agreement ever existed. I'm here to tell you that the answer to that is no. There was a goodwill agreement between the parties that they would work together to enhance and to follow that plan as they went forward. City really insisted on a significant number of protections for the Skyline Heights area, and they assured the residents that the uses that were approved under the PD at that time would be carefully adhered to. We talked about all sorts of uses. They were enumerated in the PD, and a truck wash was specifically left out. The plan was passed unanimously by the City Council the 4th time it went through. The 2009 effort that's alluded to was handily defeated by this body. There's different faces here than there were at that time, but there's been virtually no change since 2009 other than that this thing has moved closer to Skyline Heights than it ever was before. There have really been very few changes since 1995 when this plan was adopted. The Andemans have bought their property since that time, built a beautiful motorcycle dealership. Mid-America Motorplex put up their place. The truck dealership is still there. But other than that, there's been very little change, very little development in this area. I would encourage this group to seriously consider what your predecessors have done, not only in 1994, but in 2009 when they said no, absolutely positively no to this type of development. I'm not here to talk about the merits of Mr. Roman's plan because I'm sure he's done a really good job. I'm just here to offer you a historical perspective. And the historical perspective is the neighbors wouldn't have to look at this type of use. I'm opposed to it purely on philosophical reasons, that they were assured this would never happen, and with virtually no change whatsoever, they're faced with this again. So I would encourage you to vote no.
Mr. Husby, thank you very much.
Mayor, I have a question for this gentleman when he's ready, when you're ready.
Thanks, Kenny. Folks, is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this item? And Mr. Husby, please don't leave tonight. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. My name's Jeff Stockert. I represent the 26 acres immediately to the east of this property called the Flagstone Development. We bought the property back in 2007 to put together a quality mixed-use development that would capitalize on the location of two interstates, the access to the airport, and a lot of other things going on in that area. Obviously, we knew that the land was encumbered with the truck use, but we knew from the zoning ordinance that there was no other truck uses permitted there. Now, it's been suggested that, yes, you could go there and put up a truck wash or a truck stop and add a truck wash, but on 5.7 acres, after which 1.5 acres is turned into landscaping to create a buffer between the truck stop, truck wash, and the neighbors, there's 4.3 acres left. There's no possible way you're putting a truck wash or a truck stop on 4.3 acres. So it says in the zoning ordinance that it's there, but I understand that it's there. It's in the ordinance because that was there to accommodate Flying J. Okay. One can assume that the zoning ordinance was well thought out at the time, and it did not allow for truck washes. There are, if you go to the C, I believe the C2 and the C2 zoning allows for car washes, but it does not allow for truck washes. Truck washes are also allowed in the I2, or excuse me, the I1 zone. Nearly all of the property on the south side of 60th Street is zoned C2 or I1. This development can go on the other side of 60th Street without having to have this sort of consideration. In 2007, when we rezoned our property from agricultural zoning to a mix of office, multifamily, commercial, it was done at the urging of the Planning Commission to accommodate Skyline residents. Our resulting zone was a commitment from us and the city to accommodate the Skyline concerns about the impact of a truck stop in the neighborhood. As part of our rezoning, we were required to provide a buffer zone of office and multifamily. And could you go back to the slide? Go forward, I think maybe one or two, right there. You see in towards the upper right there, where it says Limestone Lane. That in our rezone application and what got approved in our PUD is office and multifamily residential. Everything to the south of that is zoned commercial. So in order for us to get this accomplished, we had to put in a buffer there. Now, there was a slide earlier that suggested that the truck wash wasn't going to touch the corner, the southwest corner of Skyline Heights, but it actually, the property does. What they've done, they've now saying, at the Planning Commission, it was suggested that that was going to go into a landscape use and stay there as a buffer. Now it's shown on the plan as an office use, potentially as an office use. Currently, it's a landscape use, but it still has, as you see there, an office classification, so it could potentially be brought up down the road that that office go in there, and so the buffer between the truck stop and the Skyline residents would go away. We have that buffer in there. It's everything that the planning department wanted, and it's everything that the Skyline residents wanted. And just, I remember back in 2009 when we went through this, the Skyline residents, it was suggested that they're anti-everything. They're anti-growth, they're anti-progress, they're anti-whatever. Well, I went through it in 2007 with these folks. We had a number of meetings. We didn't have just one meeting. We had a number of meetings. We talked about all sorts of things, and out of it came their cooperation, their signing on to our plan to allow for commercial development as long as it was properly buffered. And that's all they're looking for. They're not anti-everything, as I've heard it suggested. One of the things that I think is most important, we need to talk about the staging issue. Last Saturday, I called Beacon, the Blue Beacon, and asked what it would take to tell me about your truck wash, how long does it take, what's the cost, etc. The outcome of that conversation was that it takes 15 minutes to get your truck washed. At the time that I spoke to the gentleman, I said, how long will it, if I come over there now, how long will it take me? He said, there's 4 trucks. There's 4 trucks staged to get their trucks washed, 15 minutes a pop. That's an hour. Okay? What we have out there, tonight it was suggested that they can stage 7 trucks on this lot. I challenge Mr. Roman to present a plan that shows 7 trucks staged on that lot. So what ends up happening? The trucks back up. They stage 2, 3, 4 deep. They're going to be out on Granite Lane. I don't know if any of you ever go up there to Flying J, but when you turn off of 60th onto Granite Lane, it is nonstop trucks. The count that I've heard is 450 trucks a day. That's 20 trucks an hour. That's 1 every 3 minutes. Okay, so you got 1 truck every 3 minutes. Mr. Roman just said that most of his business is going to take place during the day when all of us are up and out there at Flying J doing business. So you got trucks taking 15 minutes to get washed. Meanwhile, coming off of 60th, there's a truck every 3 minutes. There's not enough property there for the trucks to stage on the site, and so they're backed up out into the street. I met with the traffic engineering department today. They said there's no possible way that this can happen. Granite Lane is not wide enough, and it cannot handle the traffic. And further, if in my scenario, if every 3 minutes a truck is coming off of 60th and Granite is backed up with trucks staged to park, does it not stand to reason that the trucks are going to be backed up into 60th? Then what? I mean, 60th is already. Shannon Austin at the traffic engineers department told me today that the volume of traffic accidents at that corner, and her words were, slow-moving trucks and fast cars are not a good mix. And that's what we're looking at on this corner. We're going to have trucks backed up out into 60th. Further, if you would go back one more time to that slide that showed that one. I'm told in 5 to 7 years there will be a raised median. You come off of I-29, you want to take a left into Flying J. There will be a raised median there. In other words, trucks are not going to be able to make a left-hand turn. I'm going to venture to guess that 80% of the trucks that are coming off of I-29 making a left-hand turn. Okay? They can't make that left-hand turn anymore. So they're going to go down to Kiwanis, and they're going to take a left, and then they're going to come in on 61st North, which isn't even an existing street, nor is Limestone Lane. Neither one of those exist. But in that scenario, 425, 450 trucks a day have to make that maneuver. I've got a development on my property. I met with traffic engineering today to discuss a large retail development to go there where that 61st Street would go away, and Limestone would become the only possible access in. So now all of a sudden, the people who in 1994 were promised that there would be no other truck uses on this property, not only do they get another truck use, but they get them all coming right through their neighborhood or right adjacent to their neighborhood. Further, the trucks that want to leave here and go left, they want to go. They want to go east towards Sioux Falls. They can't leave on Granite Lane and make a left-hand turn and go towards the airport because there's a median there. So now they have to travel all the way back through that Limestone Lane or something there, whatever roads exist in the future. There's just, and I want to just make one last comment. I don't want to take up all your time. I went to the zoning ordinance. I-2 truck washes are approved. Plenty of I-2 land out there. C4 trucks are not allowed. C2 the general commercial district, car washes are permitted. That the zoning ordinance, and in the zoning ordinance includes the following language: car washes are permitted subject to 5 storage spaces for each bay, provided such storage does not interfere with off-street parking or off-street traffic. This thing is going to create a traffic nightmare out there that I don't think anybody is going to be proud of in the future, and I ask you to reject the plan. Thank you.
Mr. Tucker, thank you very much. Thank you. Folks, is there anyone else who want to speak to this item? Very good. Council, questions, comments of Mr. Cooper, of any of the speakers? Any motions? Yes.
The question came up, or it came out, about parking on Granite. And it's my understanding, and I drove through there, I don't believe that there's any signs along there posted now that says no parking. I believe the intent is that there's going to be signs, I believe, put on that street in a very short order. Because I do agree the parking isn't adequate there. How do you answer the question? And you were challenged too about being able to park 7 trucks. I'm assuming 14 trucks if it's a double bay.
Right.
And then with the backup at a point in time when there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of here, and not being able to stage in the street, because that would create some issues. What is your response to that?
Well, number one, if you look at the distance from the actual building to the back side of that lot, and typical truck is 70 feet, you're going to get, from that distance to the back side of that lot will allow, what do we say, Paul? 6 to the back, and then as you curve back out to this back side would give us the 7th per bay. And if we were, like I said, we're talking 2 or 3 bays, which would allow 21 trucks onto that property before it ever hit to that street. If you've ever been, the busiest I've ever seen the Blue Beacon, and trust me, I've been out there over 1,000 times in the last 2 years, is 12. Backed up around that whole process. And this isn't set in stone. We're just showing it as a concept. The other option is to do exactly what Blue Beacon has, and to come off the one side and do a horseshoe loop around the back side, which would give us the whole property to back trucks up and around, and you know what I'm saying? So you're looping it in. If you're familiar with flying, or the Blue Beacon, they come, the building sits here, they come out and around, and they loop through here, and then they come back out the same side. We could accommodate, we have to go through the planning process in the next step, and that's whatever it takes to make sure that we we do exactly that. But if we did it exactly like this, we just sat down and talked about this because I knew that was going to be one of the topics that got brought up. So we did the actual measurements off of that building and come around and off the backside to where that approach would be 7 trucks coming around to the approach per bay. So if we did 3 bays, it would be 21 trucks on there before it ever even hit ground. And that's the way it sits. But if planning or it comes up in that we need to take the alternative option, trust me, we're more than willing to do so. I mean, we don't want to create a headache either.
Okay. Another question I have is concerning staff parking. With the number of people that you're going to have working in the facility, it looks like you have about, 6 spots marked here for cars?
And then all the way along what would be, do you have a better picture of that building? The side where the office is right here. So you're seeing the lines on the north and south end, but it would also be all along the west side there. That would be facing Granite Lane. Okay. So there'd be, and that's the key is there's 3 different shifts that would go through there. So it's ample parking. Plus we'd have the backside of that as well if we needed it, but we won't need any more than that.
Okay.
Per shift.
Councilor Karski.
Who would be able to tell me the street width of Granite Lane? Anybody here?
Mike, could you help with that, or is there anybody in Public Works?
I guess the street width, and is parking allowed on Granite Lane right now?
Yeah, Granite Lane is classified as a collector street, which means that it's usually in between 80 feet and 100 feet of right-of-way, and it can accommodate 3 lanes of traffic. I will say that if you recall at the beginning of my presentation tonight, I said that although the council is not being asked to approve a specific development plan tonight, you will be talking a lot about it, and that's why all these questions are coming up. But this development, like every other development, would have to go through all the review of traffic engineering and public works and everybody that has to sign off on a permit. We would not approve any development plan that would allow traffic to extend out into a public street. It's not allowed, period. So whether we put parking or no parking on Granite Lane, a development plan would not be approved that would allow any traffic to back out onto a public street. But I think that the actual width of that can accommodate 3 driving lanes right now.
Councilor Rolfing.
Mike, for you again. I'm interested in this agreement, this verbal agreement that everybody seems to be hanging hats on. What exactly did it say? I'm getting it, if you can remember it. In some of your notes that you indicated it was just between Flying J and the people that. Tell me what your recollection is.
Well, the agreement resulted in the zoning that you have before you.
Okay.
The agreement resulted in the zoning ordinance that you have before you,
And
which did not allow a truck wash on this property.
Which did not allow a truck wash on this property.
Yep. That's why you're being asked to consider a change to the zoning tonight.
Then let me ask you a question. If the agreement was that,
An agreement, I think what the council needs to ask itself tonight is, again, is this the same situation as it was back in 1994? Has the technology changed of what a truck wash can do to mitigate neighborhood concerns? You look at that area south of Skyline, there's been virtually no development there at all. So do you want to see some development, and do you believe that this particular use could be mitigated with the proper site improvements? But the agreement was the zoning that we have in place. And as you know, we go through zoning changes a lot because issues change, situations change. But again, that's what the council is being asked to consider tonight, is if you believe this location can be compatible for a truck wash.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Steve, can you put up the map that has the 60th Street corridor on it? And then, Mike, I have a couple questions. Where it says 2011 ADT in that yellow box, what does that mean?
That's the average daily traffic.
And in 2035, it's going to be 38,000 cars. Why do we think that?
It's projected based on our land use plan.
Then talk about that median. It's just a drawing right now, right? Just like the orange roads are, Limestone Lane, 61st Street, and the nebulous west thing there. Those are all just imaginary places right now. Is that?
Yeah, we're currently working with the DOT on a study of the entire 60th Street North Corridor. This is one segment of it. And what we're trying to address is looking at the long-range needs to address traffic out in that whole corridor.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, who determines in the end whether there's a median in 60th Street North or not?
The city would determine that in conjunction with the DOT and our consulting engineer, as well as getting comments from the public.
And then one other question, if I might. Has the city engineering, traffic engineering, given a formal statement on this particular idea?
Every development plan, including this major amendment, goes through an agency review, which includes Public Works, Planning and Building Services, a number of city departments. And essentially what we've said is that if this development is approved, then we will have to determine how we can address the traffic impacts, like we do for any development plan.
Like we do for any development plan, Mr. Mayor, we always look at these things.
Right.
We look at them in great detail, and no one's going to be comfortable with this if it's set up wrong.
And we could end up determining that there would have to be fewer parking spaces or fewer trucks. But again, until we have a chance to go in and look at that in a detailed analysis, tonight we're just asking if the land use could be considered.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Mike, if you could stay near, but a couple comments on the median. I think the issue is to solve those safety problems, those accidents, and that median is the method to do that. I serve on the UDC committee, and we've reviewed this plan. I would bet on this plan to occur because we have to stop those accidents. Having the car wash or truck wash on the other side of 60th Street would create the same problem of those trucks crossing that road, which we want to avoid. And I would bet that we'll work with the state and the city would work with Flying J to get that traffic to flow in and out of that access point right near the interstate. But they could easily come back to Kiwanis and create a stop sign there and a stoplight and manage traffic there. But I would bet on this median to occur. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Mike, on the actual ordinance, it states in here that vehicle washes shall be constructed to provide sufficient room, that language that you have. You have in here that special consideration should be given to screening the wash facility from the street. And if we wanted to add special screening consideration should be given to screen the facility from the neighbors, we could easily add that in there, couldn't we?
Which is what they're proposing with that north buffer. But yes, you could add that.
You could add the language in there to make it...
Yes. Within our plan development, we have what are called sub-area regulations. And that could be another sub-area regulation that would have to be addressed.
Thank you.
Councilor Rolfing.
Or could you give the microphone to Mr. Lavender so he doesn't have to get up there again?
Okay.
The portable?
I'm loud enough.
I know, but we got to get you. They got to get you on tape here. You know how it goes.
That's really not it.
There you go. Thank you. This is the Skyline Heights edition. Is not in the city limits as I take it, as I understand it. You're in the county. Is there a reason for that?
Yes. It's mostly historic.
Why don't you hold that up a little?
It's mostly historical is the reason. And it has, on the 2035 plan, there is talk that it will be annexed within the city. And there are some very significant issues involved with whether that subdivision will ever be brought into the city. I would say in my old planning days, environmental concerns, we have a good. And they have septic tanks under 1 acre. We have, we buy city water. We have our own distribution system there. We do not have sanitary sewer. The expense probably of coming into the city at the current time would be $6, $7, $8 million, and that would be, and it would be a significant expense for each resident to remove the septic tank from around $4,000 per unit. So that it is a historical issue.
Is it going to get any cheaper?
No, I would say not.
Okay.
I am currently, I just passed my operator one test so that I can, for clean water and sanitation of water. I decided to do that because in order to get samples of water, EPA and here decided that we have to have a certified operator. So I had to learn a lot of things that I truly don't know much about, except that I know how to put a little vial underneath the faucet and take it down to the health department so we don't have coliform bacteria.
Okay.
But that's
From your own well. But you're buying city water, though, you said.
we buy city water wholesale.
Okay. What you're doing is asking the city to help you do something and not have the, and to keep something away from you, I guess, that you don't think is of value, but still not taking advantage of some of the things that the city could give you.
In truthfulness, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilors, is anybody interested in making a motion, or Councilor Anderson Jr.?
For Mike Cooper. Mike, if this is approved tonight and taken back to the zoning commission, is there a possibility that this could come back in an appeal to us again, or is the zoning commission going to be the final say at that time?
Based on our zoning code, the next step, which is called a final development plan, cannot be appealed. That would be the next step prior to getting a building permit approved. But the Planning Commission would have to comply with any of the sub-area regulations in addition to all the other requirements that we have to follow. The lighting plan, landscaping plan, drainage, traffic, all those things that we would look at.
Thank you.
Council, these have been some of the best testimony I've heard since I've been mayor, and some of the best questions that I've heard since I've been mayor. Does anyone have a motion that they would like to make, or any further questions?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Jameson.
Councilor Mbach's made a motion to approve item number 16. It has been seconded by Councilor Jameson. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Yes.
Jameson, Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 17.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at Southwestern Avenue and West 95th Street from the AG Agricultural District to the RS2 Residential District, the S Institutional District, and the RC Recreation Conservation District, petition number 2011-1006, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Ms. Cooper.
This is a petition submitted by the Harrisburg School District to change the zoning of a site that they are proposing to develop into 2 schools. One would be a future middle school as well as a future elementary school. The site consists of approximately 73 acres and it is directly north of proposed future 95th Street, west of Western Avenue. And a conceptual site plan has been proposed that shows on the east half would be a future middle school. On the west half would be a future elementary, and then in the middle will be a recreational area. The city has been working with the school district on a number of issues, including utilities, traffic flow, and item 20 that we'll consider later on tonight will be approval of their subdivision plan, which includes the street and also additional residential development that's being considered around the school sites. The zoning plan has been considered by staff as well as the Planning Commission as being recommended for approval tonight.
Folks, this is another second reading. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Welcome.
Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you very much. If any of you have been around me, you know that I can talk long and very boring, and I'm going to be uncharacteristic tonight and be real short and to the point.
Could you just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls?
Jim Hobeck, Superintendent at Harrisburg.
Thanks, Jim.
We have worked probably 18, 20 months on this issue, and we have looked for the perfect location for our two schools that are going to add to the two schools that already are within your boundaries. And as Sioux Falls grows south, we grow with you, and we're quite proud of that and quite excited about the fact that we can put two new schools into the city of Sioux Falls. So without further ado, I just want to tell you I'm here for questions. We did have a lot of conversations with the neighbors. We had a meeting where we had a neighborhood meeting, and we had no negative comments that came out of that meeting. And so we're very appreciative of all the help that we've also gotten from the city offices, and as this came to you from the Planning Commission, we hope that you will uphold with what they recommended. Thank you.
Superintendent Holbeck, thanks so much for being here tonight. We appreciate your service. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Council, questions, comments, motions?
Move to approve, Brown.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve. It was seconded by Councilor Karski. Any questions or comments? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 18.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 14 elections by providing a runoff election 3 weeks after the annual city election.
Sue Roust, Interim City Clerk.
Thank you, sir.
This proposed ordinance comes to you after review by the Public Services Committee, who endorsed its presentation to the council. Our city charter provides that our biennial annual election will be the second Tuesday in April. It also provides that newly elected officers of the city will take office on the third Monday in May. The charter says nothing at all about runoffs. For that, you go to state law. State law until 2006 said that in cities that provided for a runoff, the runoff would be 2 weeks after the annual election. At that time, in 2006, it was changed to 3 weeks for several good reasons that I'll go over with you. The city of Sioux Falls has never followed along with that state law, and I am not sure why. I think perhaps as a home rule charter entity, we are not bound by that state law, but I think it's something worth considering anyway. One of the biggest problems with having the runoff 2 weeks after the initial election is that the voter registration deadline is 15 days before any election. So right now, if somebody goes next April to vote in the initial election and is told you aren't registered to vote, they can be told, well, you can register, but you still won't be able to vote in 2 weeks. Or if you want to go to vote and change your registration, update your address, again, you'll be told, well, you can fill out a registration form today, but it won't be in effect for the next election, so you have to come back to your old polling place. That would be alleviated if the two elections were 3 weeks apart. Then people who showed up and were unable to vote would be guaranteed the right to vote the next time around. Secondly, the 2-week time frame leaves very little time for the county auditors to put in the backlog of voter registrations that have piled up in that 2 weeks between elections, and I can tell you from experience that can be sometimes a fairly substantial number. In addition, getting ballots printed, ballot boxes repacked, and the supplies packed and delivered to the precincts is very difficult within 2 weeks. It also makes it very hard for those people who have to absentee vote by mail, because by the time you get the ballots printed and mailed out to them, they have a fairly limited time to get ballots back to you. And finally, a philosophical issue, but one I think is important. Sometimes when we have a crowded field in the first election, it's difficult for the voters to get to know the stands, the positions of all the candidates. And when there's only 2 weeks from the first election to the second, there's still a real rush. And I believe the voters would be better served by having a little bit longer time between the two elections so they can get to know the candidates who remain for the runoff election. As far as timing goes, right now, the time from a runoff election to the time of taking office in May is either 3 or 4 weeks. And so if we made this change, it would be either 2 or 3 weeks. 3 of the next 4 election cycles, it would be 3 weeks between being elected and taking office. In those few times that it's a 2-week gap, I think that probably is a little bit of a challenge for the person coming in. But if we have to balance off the needs of the voters having a little more time to register and vote versus a newly elected council member or mayor having to get up to speed a little bit faster, I would tend to come down on the side of the voters. And for those reasons, I would urge your consideration of this. The action tonight, I believe, would be to set a date of second reading, if you so choose.
Council, questions, comments? Yes.
Move approval to set the date for the second hearing for Monday, December 12th at 7 o'clock.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Ross makes a motion to set that hearing and second reading for Monday, December 12th, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. There are no further questions. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
That is passed 7-0. Item 19.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by adding one legal description to Section 39-82A, providing for rural service district lands.
We have a provision in state law as well as city ordinances that allows the city council to determine whether or not property can be placed in a rural service designation. It's designed for vacant and undeveloped properties that could remain assessed at the ag levy versus the non-ag levy. And so when we get those requests, we review them with a respective county, and then we make a recommendation to you. In this case, the request is to include additional property surrounding the west, north, and south sides of what's known as Lake Lorraine. The east side is currently within our rural service district designation, but over the years we've never included the other surrounding properties. There's been a number of development plans looked at over the years with the Lake Lorraine, which I think is why we've never been asked to put this in a rural service. But now we do have a petition request from the property owner, and the staff recommendation is to approve this request.
Council, would anybody like to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, December 19th at 7 p.m. on item 19?
So moved, Karski.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Karski's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there are no further questions, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 20.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of the Harrisburg Schools addition. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This shows the proposed development plan for the two Harrisburg school sites that we approved tonight for the rezoning, as well as adjacent residential development that's being proposed. Basically, you'll see that there's the development plan allows for a 95th Street to be extended west of Western Avenue through this property as a collector street. And the goal is to eventually extend 95th Street all the way over to Louise Avenue. There's some issues that we still have to work with on right-of-way as you get over to Louise, but that's the ultimate intent, is to have 95th Street extend east and west across between Western and Louise. You'll also see that there's a connection shown to the north on what's called Quiet Oak Trail. And although that we're recommending that you approve this tonight, we want you to know that we are still in discussions with a developer to the north about whether or not this connectivity is going to be desirable or not. Preston Metler is the developer to the north. He has come forward with a proposal to cul-de-sac Quiet Oak. We did defer that to a January council meeting. We are still talking about the pros and cons of having that extend. We do believe it's important to have some type of access connectivity to the school sites, whether it's for cars or for bicycles or pedestrians. So just wanted you to know that we will be coming forward for further recommendations on that, but for the purpose of tonight, we feel comfortable in recommending approval of this development plan as proposed, and we will be addressing the adjacent developer in January with you.
Mr. Cooper, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council, any questions, comments?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Jameson.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item number 20, seconded by Councilor Jameson. If there are no further questions or comments, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 21.
A resolution approving the special assessment roll for the Main Street Business Improvement District in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Hey, good evening, Brent O'Neill,
Brent.
Community Development Department on this item. The Main Street Business Improvement District corresponds to the city's official designated downtown boundary, and it's used as a funding mechanism to undertake activities for the betterment and overall enhancement of the downtown area. It's one of the tools in our toolbox for supporting downtown, and it is a nice tool in that it is self-supported by the property owners through an assessment on properties annually. It has been widely accepted, and it's been very successful in its 20-year run or 20-plus year run in the city. The action tonight is approving the 2011 assessment roll, approximately $145,000 total collected on just over 250 properties. The Business Improvement District Board has reviewed this item a couple times and unanimously recommends its approval. Downtown Sioux Falls, the organization, is charged with implementing the activities and so forth, and Kelly Holfert, the Vice President of Downtown, is here to speak to these items as well.
Good. Kelly, would you like to speak? Come forward.
Mayor Huther and City Council members. My name is Kelly Holfert. I'm Vice President of Downtown Sioux Falls. When Downtown Sioux Falls and the Business Improvement District were formed in 1989, respectively, their charge was to assist in the development, management, and promotion of downtown. Once perceived as an unsafe, dirty, neglected part of town with empty storefronts, it's now a vibrant and thriving district. Simply put, downtown is once again a place that matters, providing a unique and remarkable experience. The bid funds represent 20% of our budget. The rest of our revenue comes from earned income through membership, sponsors, and special events. For every dollar that the bid contributes, 4 more dollars are leveraged by Downtown Sioux Falls to improve downtown. This year, through the support of the bid, we were able to remove over 6,500 pounds of litter, trash, and debris, over 3 ton, expand the street banner program by 105 banners, install and maintain 87 flower baskets, and install and maintain 130 holiday wreaths. We were also able to promote the businesses, real estate opportunities, attractions, and events to over 104,000 people that visited our website, distribute 15,000 Discover Downtown brochures, promote downtown businesses, events, and developments to over 3,800 Facebook fans, and that is still growing, and attract an estimated 44,000 visitors to downtown through our annual events and promotions. Through these programs, the bid has helped retain and attract businesses to downtown. Since 1990, occupancy rates have increased from around 55 to 60% to 85 to 90%, my apologies. Just this year, 14 new businesses have opened downtown. The bid is an investment that has helped maintain and improve property values. The overall assessed value of the district more than doubled between 2000 and 2010, according to county assessment records. The bottom line is for the bid that it is a collective investment that works to maintain and improve property values and attract commerce. This year, over $30 million of new developments were announced. The funds invested by the bid have undoubtedly been a key factor in the success of our downtown district. Looking ahead, we'll implement our updated strategic plan that identifies new priorities for downtown Sioux Falls that includes business retention and recruitment, as well as parking education and awareness programs for the betterment of downtown. We'll also work together with city staff, the bid board, and property owners to undertake a comprehensive review and present to you any recommendations for improvements by April 2012. Thank you for your time.
Great job. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Council, item number 21. Questions, comments, motions?
Move to approve,
the
Brown.
resolution, Entenmann.
Councilor Brown has made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Any comments? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 22.
Resolution approving the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and the Local 519 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Bill O'Toole from the Human Resources Office. This resolution adopts the two-year collective bargaining agreement that the City of Sioux Falls and AFSCME have been working on for the past several months. From August to October, we engaged in several meetings through this process, did come to terms and conditions, or an agreement on terms and conditions for the next 2 years regarding the wages, hours, and conditions of employment. Probably the biggest significance in any of these negotiations is the cost of living adjustment in each calendar year. And in this agreement that's before you is a 2% cost of living adjustment for 2012 and 2013. And as this council knows, that when we adopted the 2012 budget, we did not build in any COLA adjustment for that. And it's our objective in 2012 to try to manage those costs. But it's not to say we might not be coming back at some point later in 2012 for some of those smaller departments who don't have the attrition issues as some of the larger departments, and there might be a need to supplement or make a request for a supplement to deal with that issue. And I think I have briefed the council in the past on that very issue, so hopefully that's no surprise to anybody here today. But what I would like to do is just briefly indicate that, or go over a summary. I forwarded a copy of the summary of all the changes. Obviously, there are a number of changes that can occur. I'm going to kind of keep this at a high level, and I'd be happy to answer any questions once I get through. Obviously, as indicated, 2% COLA for the next 2 years. Some of the other issues that were identified in the contract for this 2-year agreement is some changes in what's called working in a higher classification. We eliminated a 2-day waiting period before an employee would receive a $1 hour in addition to their base hourly rate of pay. We also made some changes in the emergency call-in provisions and affirmatively agreed to notify employees that, in fact, they were being activated for emergency call-in situations. We did increase standby provisions for $10 for each year in 2012 and 2013. We also agreed to increase the number of days if we had to engage in any kind of layoff from 20 days to 30 days. In the vacations, we did agree that all new employees hired after December 31st, 2011, the maximum carryover went from 240 down to 201. Under some of the sick leave changes, we agreed to allow employees to use sick leave for any illness or injury that occurred as a result of their military duty. And we created a new provision that dealt with court pay for some of the employees, particularly in like the animal control division, that didn't address those issues before. That's a really high level and quick overview. You have more information, but I'm happy to answer any questions as it relates to this contract.
Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council, questions or comments of Bill? Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Bill, you said that the 2% COLA was not budgeted in to our next budget?
That's correct.
What do you estimate this could cost us throughout next year or the next 2 years?
I can give you the general fund impact for next year. About $300,000, Counselor, to the general fund to cover that cost.
And what was the reasoning for not budgeting this in then?
At the time, we hadn't started the collective bargaining process, and that process finished after the budget process.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Urbanbach.
Move approval.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Urbanbach's made a motion to approve this collective bargaining agreement, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Any further questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Urbanbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 23.
A resolution approving the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and police officers and sergeants, Sioux Falls Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 1 LC.
Again, Bill O'Toole, Human Resources. Like the last collective bargaining agreement, this agreement with the police officers and sergeants is also a 2-year agreement. We met several times through 2011, June through October. Again, negotiations were productive. They were cordial. Yes, we did have some challenges from time to time, but we were able to resolve those challenges, and we did come to what we believe is a good agreement over the next 2 years. The greatest significance, again, for any of these agreements is that COLA, and as it relates to the police officers and sergeants, it was 0% COLA for 2012 and a 2% COLA for 2013. Again, we think those were modest increases, and as I think this council knows, each of the respective employee groups have or will have endured a 0% COLA for 2 consecutive years. It may just have come at different calendar years because of the timing of when contracts expire. But all employees have helped, if you will, get through this financial difficulty that we've had to go through over the past few years. I've also provided a summary of changes for the FOP contract as well, and just at a really high level with respect to some of the changes in that agreement. And Chief Barthel is also here if you have any questions for him as well. We did make some changes in the military leave article to add some more flexibility to reservists or guard members to switch normally scheduled days off during the week. We did allow for probationary employees to elect to have union representation during any related investigatory interviews. The uniform equipment levels remained the same as prior years. We made some changes in other areas with respect to certain language. Our standby and unscheduled call-in provision, we did make I would call it a substantial change, but it's relatively insignificant in terms of the standby. It was previously at $91, but it's jumped to $180. And the reason for that is there's very few employees that are eligible for that, and there's also employees that work in the crime lab unit that have AFSCME members that work in that area, and that's also the rate that the AFSCME members work. And Doug can answer some questions if there's any more issues on that. Yeah, it does look like a big increase, if you will, but it does not affect very many people. I think it's maybe 2 people that are eligible for that change. We spent a lot of time going through and revising the grievance process. We have streamlined that and simplified it. We've also made provisions for allowances for people in the FOP to utilize their sick leave as well if they're injured while on active military status. We revamped our family and medical leave articles, so that is more streamlined as well. Vacations was another issue with this bargaining unit as well. We treated all the bargaining units the same with respect to reducing the maximum allowable carryover from year to year, from 240 down to that 201. And again, in the wages article, we already talked about the COLA, 0% for 2012 and 2% for 2013. Another change that we made in that agreement to help attract sergeants or police officers for promotion to sergeant is that we did eliminate step 6 to provide for a bigger increase and get more folks interested in applying for promotions. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions, as would Chief Barthel.
Is there anyone who would like to speak to this item? Counsel?
Move to approve, Brown.
I have a question, Mayor.
Second Erpenbach for...
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Thank you very much. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Bill, with these contracts now being completed, I guess questions that I've had from citizens is, how is our pension plan now sitting after these contracts are done? Are you seen other cities or other entities have problems with pensions? How is our pension plan now sitting since we have these contracts completed?
There's very little in these contracts that we can negotiate when it comes to pensions. There is some brief language in each of the articles that speaks to that issue, but it's like 1 or 2 sentences that deal with that issue. The kind of the pension review that's going on right now is going on almost separate and apart from that process. Now, what I could say is that that whole issue of the vacation reduction was kind of a step in the direction to deal with both what's a pending liability for us, as well as that pension issue, because vacations are counted towards final average pay, and that was kind of a step in that direction to recognize that some of that change needs to occur. We do continue to work with a firm called Kavanaugh McDonald, and there will be more information forthcoming as it relates to that overall pension review, but it is a separate process for the most part, even though there are some fingers and some issues in those labor contracts that spill over and have impact as a result of that final average compensation issue I just mentioned.
Thank you.
Council, roll call vote, please.
Council members Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And it's passed 8-0. Item 24.
A resolution naming the Westside Branch Library the Prairie West Branch Library.
Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. In September, the Library Board of Trustees implemented a committee to solicit and engage the community in the process for naming our new Westside branch, an exciting opportunity for all of us, of course. And that process included a number of public input opportunities. There were forums on our website. We received email forms. We held public meetings. People gave us suggestions, both verbally and written. And I am pleased to tell you that we received 118 submissions for names for the Westside Branch Library. And I think that's pretty incredible. I would like to recognize people who were on that committee, which included Councilor Karski, Commissioner Cindy Heiberger as the liaison from the county to the Siouxland Libraries Board, Tim Gebhardt, who is a member of the Library Board, Don Kearney from Parks Department, Ann Williams from the Sioux Falls School District and principal at Discovery Elementary, and Cassie Fries, who was the youth representative from Roosevelt High School. That group met and then processed all of the 118 submissions, made a recommendation to the Library Board, which was Prairie West Branch Library. And I would also like to, we have a special event tonight, the person who actually submitted the name Prairie West is here tonight. And I would like to recognize Rusty Braden for his suggestion of Prairie West, which I trust you will all approve as the new name for the Westside branch. Rusty?
Mr. Mayor?
And Vernon, I'm sorry, Councilor Brown, I'm so sorry. Mary, would you please just come back and introduce yourself? Would you mind introducing yourself to the people of Sioux Falls? Not everybody knows you just yet.
See, I feel like I've been here forever and everybody knew me. I'm Mary Johns, Director of the Siouxland Libraries.
Thank you so much. Councilor Brown.
I think Rusty deserves special commendation for sitting here for 2 hours.
It's interesting.
Good, thank you.
To the people of Sioux Falls, Rusty said it's interesting. So we appreciate that. Is there any public commentary on this, Rusty? Anybody else? Well, very good, very good. Yes, Councilor Karski.
As Mary said, I was on the committee, and it was an interesting process. We did have a lot of 180 plus, yeah, okay, and some very good ones and some humorous ones too. But I want to thank the rest of the committee that worked on this. It was a very well thought process, and I'm satisfied with the name, and I think it's very descriptive of the library that we're going to be putting out there. So, thank you.
With that in mind, Councilor Karski, would you mind doing the honors?
I move to approve.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Karski's made that motion to approve naming the brand spanking new Westside Branch Library the Prairie West Branch Library. And it was seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Is there any further discussion? With that in mind, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is unanimously passed. The library is not yet built, but from this point forward, whenever we consider that brand spanking new library in the West, it is called Prairie West Branch Library. I think that deserves a round of applause. And for the people of Sioux Falls, I've been told one of the names that was heavily considered was the name Bacon. That's no kidding, Bacon. But Rusty, congratulations.
Yeah, I think I like mine too.
Very good, very good. Item number 25.
A resolution authorizing the City of Sioux Falls to gratuitously transfer to the Zoological Society the live animal collection located at the Great Plains Zoo and the Delbridge Museum.
Welcome, Don.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. The resolution before you would transfer the live animal collection to the Zoo Society. By approving this resolution, it allows us to be in compliance with the AZA animal acquisition and disposition policy, and also to be in compliance with the state surplus property laws. It also, obviously from a practical perspective, allows the society to continue to manage the animal collection on a daily basis to accommodate the ever-changing and evolving animal collection at the zoo. And I think you were at the informational, I believe all of you were at the informational at 4 o'clock. I believe that animal acquisition number has essentially doubled over the last 5 or 6 years. So going forward, please know that the management agreement as proposed would require that all future animal acquisitions be acquired with funds provided by the society. And finally, that the management agreement also would provide that the ownership of the animals revert back to the city in the unlikely event that the society no longer manages the zoo. And that item is actually on your agenda as item number 30. With that, Elizabeth Whaley from the Zoo Society is here, as well as myself and other city representatives if there are any questions.
Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council? Yes, Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Don, one of the issues was about the insurance. How did we end up resolving that? The insurance on the zoo itself?
Yes, I believe we did, but we probably could take that up under item number 30 when the management agreement comes up, if that's okay.
Is that okay, Councilor Anderson, Jr.?
Sure,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
Don, as you know, I've been someone who has not been a proponent of this. I just somehow it rubbed me wrong to give away, and I understand it. I understand, and I'm going to vote for it. However, I did want to express my views. Is there any way that we can get some kind of a report on a monthly or quarterly basis of what animals went in, what animals went out, that kind of thing, so that we could just kind of have some kind of a tracking?
Sure. And actually, I believe Elizabeth would tell you that that's a requirement for them to maintain their accreditation status as well, but we could certainly work with you as a periodic report as to the animals that came in and out of the zoo.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet.
Elizabeth, would you, if you wouldn't mind, how often do we have to present that report to the people of Sioux Falls? Sorry to put you on the spot. Or Don, would you know?
She's probably best to answer that.
Thank you. Elizabeth, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to the people of Sioux Falls, please.
Elizabeth Whaley, President and CEO of the Great Plains Zoo.
Thank you.
Good evening. I believe the contract stipulates that at any time that you ask for a report, we offer that up for you. And of course, we keep an active inventory of our animals. But remember that day to day, that's a changing inventory. And so we're glad to offer that up. But we do want to make sure that the society has the latitude to appropriately manage these animals and make those decisions on a day-to-day basis.
So if we were to have that done on a quarterly basis, you could do that, or a semi-annual basis, or whatever it would be?
Absolutely.
So Councilor Rolfing, whatever you would recommend.
I would think quarterly would probably be okay. As you probably give a report on a quarterly basis or so, don't you? Or is it semi-annual that you come in?
You know, we're very glad at any point to make a presentation to the council. I would just remind you that these are living beings. The decisions are made based on medicine and genetics and management of animals. And so a list of animals isn't necessarily something that may be meaningful to you in whatever time period. But absolutely, we want to have a good partnership with you. And if that's something that's going to allow us to move forward as great partners, you know, we're certainly open to that.
I think a quarterly would probably be appropriate.
Councilor Karski.
We talk about ownership of the animals. How were the animals acquired originally? I mean, what funds were used? Was that city money? Was that money given by donors to the zoo? How were those animals obtained originally?
Well, I guess I would ask you when originally was.
Good question. Obviously, we feel that they're an asset to some extent, ownership, etc. They're obtained somehow. I mean, we didn't go to 1,000 animals through creation. How do we pay for, up to this point, the acquisition of those animals?
Sure. The society has a line item in the budget that you all approve on a yearly basis. You, of course, the city, provide a management fee, which is a minority portion of our operating budget every year. And in that, one of our line items is animal acquisition and transport. And so we have a bucket of money out of which we acquire animals.
Councilor Mbach.
Move approval.
Second, Entenmann. Councilor Mbach's made a motion to approve item number 25, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Any further questions, Council? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item number 26.
A resolution creating tax incremental district number 12, City of Sioux Falls, and terminating tax incremental district number 8, City of Sioux Falls.
Good evening. Erica Beck with the Community Development Department. If it's okay with the council, I'd like to present items 26 and 27 together, but they will require separate votes.
Please do.
Should I read them both?
You please.
27, a resolution approving the project plan for tax incremental district number 12, City of Sioux Falls.
Thank you. South Dakota Codified Law, Chapter 11-9, requires that the City Council separately review and recommend approval for both the boundary of a TIF district and the plan for a TIF district. With respect to our proposed TIF 12, we are requesting your consideration on both the boundary and the plan this evening. For the purposes of reviewing the boundary, we've titled the proposed district as TIF 12, and we've separated the boundary into 3 sub-areas for future reference in the plan that was attached to your resolution. Sub-area A and B, include property from the existing TIF 8. It is our intent that if TIF 12 is approved, the existing TIF 8 district would be dissolved. TIF 8, if you remember, was created in 2007 as part of the Uptown at Falls Park development project. And because the new construction of the Arches buildings was not completed as suggested in the original plan, it is necessary for us to move forward with the termination of that TIF district and the formulation of a new TIF district that would include specific items from TIF 8 that were completed for reimbursement. It is our intent also to look at the property that is not being included in TIF 12, the city-owned property that was initially part of TIF 8, for future redevelopment. And so we'll be working on a plan that we'll put together for the council's review later on in 2012, where we will most likely solicit additional ideas on development of that property in the future. There are several projects, however, that I'd like to talk about specifically within the existing TIF 8 that were completed as identified within the original adopted plan. Those include the construction of 4th Street and the renovation of the facades at the Larson Lofts and Tri-State Creamery buildings. Those expenses are included in TIF 12 and will be reimbursed by the increase in valuation resulting from those improvements. The historic buildings within the original TIF 8 are referred to in the TIF 12 plan as sub-area B. Their value to the district, is estimated to be roughly $740,000 over the course of the district's life. Sub-area A will include the construction of a mixed-use building that we refer to as the DeKalb Lofts. This project alone will add a minimum of around $815,000 in new taxes to the district over the life of the TIF. Sub-area C consists of the remaining 12 properties, 3 that are under city ownership, one that is owned by a local faith-based organization, and others that are privately owned. We are proposing to include those properties within the district so that we can work with property owners to make improvements and incentivize additional growth within that north geographic area of downtown Sioux Falls. Those types of properties or improvements that could be made are such things as facade easements, streetscape enhancements, and additional public eligible projects. For the purposes of this plan, we are assuming that this subarea will grow at a rate of around 1.5% in valuation annually. Given this assumption, this subarea will bring in a minimum of $575,000 in incremental growth to the district over its life. The costs that we are identifying within TIF 12 to be reimbursed are estimated to include such things as site preparation, so earthwork, demolition, utility relocation, facade improvements, legal fees, environmental remediation, land acquisition, financing costs, and street improvements. The base value of the district is approximately $11 million, and at the end of the district, we anticipate that to exceed $19 million. This will increase the taxes within the district by approximately $130,000 annually. As part of the resolution for item 26, we are creating TIF 12 and terminating TIF 8. So I just want to spell that out to all of you so that you know what you're voting on for item 26. We are recommending approval of the proposed TIF because it complies with South Dakota codified law, the city's 2015 downtown plan, our 2035 growth management plan, and also for your reference, Planning Commission has reviewed this item on November 2nd and recommended approval. The item was also reviewed with external legal counsel from Davenport, Emmons, Hurwitz, and Smith, and it received approval from them as well. Be happy to answer any questions you have. Also, if you have a question specifically on some of the proposed development that I spoke to in the district, Mr. Lloyd is in the audience and can speak to that as well.
Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this? Council, any questions of Erica or Mr. Lloyd? Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Erica, you and I have had a little emails back and forth a little bit on this. I guess with TIF 8 being canceled, what's the city's cost on that now since we've given up on that TIF?
Well, we do not have any costs associated with that because we retain ownership of the city-owned property that was part of TIF 8. Our intent with dissolving TIF 8 was because the new construction was not done, we want to make sure that we can offer TIF as an incentive in the future to any other developer or even the existing developer that we were working with on a new proposal for that geographic area. If it remains in TIF 8, we would not be able to pursue that incentive on that area because it did not happen within the first 5 years of the district's creation. So that was really our catalyst for looking at this overall.
And also, we pretty much exclusively use TIFs only in the downtown area. I see the rest of our city developing quite well. What's the reasoning for using TIFs in these areas?
I'll just give you a little bit of background for the general public as well. But in total, we've had 11 TIF districts within the city, 7 that were downtown within our downtown boundary, and then 3 that have been within the core neighborhoods surrounding downtown. Traditionally, we've utilized this incentive within that core area because we know that it's more difficult to develop in that area specifically. The cost of development is significantly higher in terms of land prices, the environmental issues that you typically face, any demolition that has to take place, utility costs, all of those types of things are added development costs. And so we try to incentivize that to make that development more comparable to other areas of the city. However, what I would also tell you is that we're going to be looking at ways that we can utilize TIF to a greater degree, and so we're going to be reviewing that with the City Council at a work session on January 11th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Councilor Jameson.
Eric, just a comment or a question maybe. The day that the City Council stops approving these TIFs, what for downtown, what would that mean? What would that mean to you and the development department?
I think it would be really difficult to move forward with our jobs in the development department if we did not have this incentive to utilize downtown. I think, we've talked to several developers throughout the past couple of years, especially since I've been with the city of Sioux Falls. And, one of the conversations that we had actually with Don Dunham recently, he actually drew to our attention the fact that, I don't think it's probably been 20 years since we've not used TIF on a private development within the downtown area, because that's how difficult it is to develop downtown just because of all the additional costs that are associated with that development. And so we don't have a lot of incentives to utilize for economic development purposes within the city now as it exists today. And the utilization of TIF is one of those ways that we can reach out to the development community and assure them that this is a public-private partnership and we want to assist in whatever way that we can to make development happen and to see downtown succeed.
What I was alluding to was the idea that once this incentive is no longer needed, that I think is the tipping point for downtown that says it's that much of a value to be downtown and no longer needs an incentive. And I guess that would be the exciting day someday when there's such a demand for development that we don't need to incentivize it. That's what I was alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tool. We need to use it. But when that day comes, we'll know that the downtown is all on its own and ready to go.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Councilor Enneman.
I move that we approve
Thank you.
item 26, the resolution.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Enneman has made a motion to approve item 26, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Is there any further questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0.
Mr. Mayor, move
Yes.
approval of number 27.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve item 27, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Any comments on that? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed. And one more, please. Anderson Jr.
Anderson, sorry.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item number 28.
Report of the November 28, 2011 Notice of Transfers of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Would anybody like to make a motion We don't have to make a motion. I'm tired. Item 29, sorry.
Extension of Contract 06-0071 Management and Operating Agreement between the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota and Washington Pavilion Management, Inc.
Darren, welcome.
Good evening. Darren Smith, Director of Community Development. The document, the item you have in front of you tonight is essentially a one-page document. It proposes to extend the existing agreement we have with the Washington Pavilion Management Group for what I think will be literally a couple months. The agreement that's in place now does expire at the end of this calendar year, and we are just not going to have a long-term agreement worked out before December 31. So we decided to bring this to you again. I fully expect we'll be back in hopefully just a couple months, and then we'll ask you to consider a long-term agreement.
Council, with that in mind, would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
So moved, Entenmann.
Second, Brown.
Councilor Emmons made a motion to approve. Councilor Brown has seconded that. Yes, Councilor Anderson,
I guess just one question. How long are we extending this? He said a couple months, but
Yes.
it doesn't say anything here.
Yeah, in the document it uses the term indefinite, so I don't want that to concern anybody. We truly intend for this to be 2 or 3 months, and again, it is the agreement that's been in place for 6 years. That agreement will continue unchanged, and we'll get it worked out and get it back in front of you, and it'll be a long-term agreement.
Councilor Brown.
Question for the city attorney. Do you have any concern about that being an indefinite?
Actually, Karen Leonard's in the audience. Councilor Brown, if I...
No, please. Karen, thanks for staying.
Karen Leonard, Assistant City Attorney. The document is drafted so that it will be extended until a new management contract is put in place, and we didn't want to limit our negotiations and keep coming back every month, and so we thought that that was a fair way to represent that once we had a new management contract in place, then we'd be coming back to you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may continue. Larry Toll, any concerns about that length? He's saying no.
Larry Toll's in the audience. He's the head of the pavilion, and he shook his head no. In terms of no concerns, sorry. He did answer the question, yes. Well, Council, thank you very much. There is a motion and a second on item number 29. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Council members Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 30.
Agreement between the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota and the Zoological Society of Sioux Falls for management of the Great Plains Zoo and Delbridge Museum.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. The management agreement before you is certainly a result of a lot of hard work from our negotiating team. That included Karen Leonard from the City Attorney's Office, Tracy Turback, our Director of Finance, and Dave Fisher, our Assistant Director within Parks and Recreation. And we certainly want to acknowledge the hard work of the Zoo Society staff, Elizabeth Whaley, the President and CEO, Dan Simon, as well as a staff member of the zoo itself, Steve Bentley, the Chairman of the board, and Dan Harmelek, representing the Zoo Society as well. So appreciate everybody's work. We spent a lot of time on it, and in summary, this agreement provides for a 5-year agreement that coincides with the AZA accreditation cycle. And as previously discussed in item 25, it transfers the ownership of the live animal collection to the society. It also articulates what funds become the property of the society versus the city should the society no longer manage the zoo. It also transfers the costs of providing the general liability insurance to the society, and it takes into consideration those recommendations of the audit committee that recently completed the audit of the zoo management contract. I also wanted to let you know that the Parks and Recreation Board did at its board meeting last month approve and recommend to the council this agreement. Again, I once again want to thank the city staff and the zoo staff for their efforts to prepare the agreement that's before you tonight. The agreement that was put in place back in 2005 has allowed the society and the city to make great progress on the zoo, as you heard today at 4 o'clock. And the agreement before you tonight provides the framework for us to be able to continue to make great strides in the years to come at the zoo. And certainly city staff and zoo staff are available to answer any questions you might have. And hopefully that answers your question, Councilmember Anderson, regarding the insurance, that it is transferred to the society's responsibility to provide that general liability insurance.
Don, would you mind, there was an accreditation announcement made today for the people in Sioux Falls that are watching right now. Would you mind just quickly telling the people of Sioux Falls what happened today?
Yes, I would. We're very proud, and I know Elizabeth and her staff and her board of directors are very proud that the zoo once again has been accredited by the AZA, which is the accrediting institution for zoos and aquariums across the country and throughout the world. And a very proud moment for Sioux Falls today and its zoo.
My understanding is that only the top 10% of zoos across the country receive that accreditation. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. The Great Plains Zoo and Delbridge Museum is in that top 10% of all animal institutions.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Council, any questions, comments, motions?
Move to approve. Brown.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Brown has made a motion to approve item number 30. It was seconded by Councilor Aguilar.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ermbach.
grammar counts.
It does.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend by striking the comma immediately following the word society in subsection 3.4D.
Second.
Thank you. Councilor Ermbach has made a motion to amend this, and it was seconded by Councilor Brown by removing a comma. Any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, if there is no further discussion, we will vote to approve the main motion as amended by removing that comma.
Just one quick comment,
Councilor
if I
Brown,
may.
please.
Twice the attendance, 2 times as many animals, 3 times as many memberships in 5 years. That's what the zoo has accomplished. I urge you to vote yes.
And with your permission, Councilor Brown, because you know the zoo better than anybody up here. Also an 18, sorry, I didn't want to say Elizabeth, up here. Also an 18
Which
to
cage
20
would I be in, Mayor?
Also an $18 to $20 million economic impact per year, and it's been estimated that 1 out of every 2 visitors who comes to the zoo is not from Sioux Falls, is actually from out of Sioux Falls. Is that correct, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Didn't want to let that one go. Very good. There is a motion to approve the main motion as amended, and it has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Council, any further work that we want to do tonight?
Move to adjourn.
Intimate.
Thank you. Councilor Ennemann's made a motion to adjourn. It was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
For the record, it is 9:35 p.m. This city councilor did a great job tonight. You should be proud, Sioux Falls. This meeting is adjourned. Make it a great night.